Hello everybody, I hope you guys are enjoying your day, and today we're going to be looking at your April 2020 forecast. Now, today we're going to be going over your temperature anomaly forecast as well as your precipitation anomaly forecast and your overall forecast at the very end of the video, so make sure you are staying tuned all the way until the end. Now, we're going to start off here with your temperature forecast, and we do have some above average conditions which are going to be spanning areas of the central and southern Rockies through the Great Plains and down through the deep south, including areas into Texas and Oklahoma, as well as the southern half of Florida. Now, let's look at your next layer of above average, and this is going to be your moderately above average conditions, and this is going to be for areas into Colorado, northern New Mexico, into northeasternmost Arizona, easternmost Utah, and southeasternmost areas of Wyoming. This is where I expect it to be a little bit more warm than a normal, and it's going to be more noticeable that it is going to be warmer than normal over areas like Colorado, northern New Mexico, and southeastern Wyoming. And I think April is really going to be the month where your polar vortex, which has been straddled up in the northern or the Arctic Ocean and northern Canada, as well as Siberia, it's been really bottled up. You have had record sea ice extent over those areas in the Arctic, and you're gonna see that polar vortex start to kind of break down. Now, of course, it's gonna be weaker. It's getting into April, so it's not gonna be crazy below zero temperatures like that. But it is gonna be colder than normal, definitely, and it'll provide some relief from all that warm air that you've been seeing over much of the country the past couple of months this winter. And April, it's gonna start to break down, and you're gonna actually start to get this polar vortex, or at least some colder air, to spill in to the eastern United States, which we'll talk about right now. So we do have some below average conditions, slightly below average conditions over areas into the northeast, areas into the mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley, through the Midwest and Great Lakes, as well as there for a little bit there Washington and Oregon, seeing some slightly below average conditions. Now, in these areas, you are going to get that polar vortex to break down. This is something you haven't seen all throughout pretty much December, all of January and February for the most part, and even for much of March. You've seen this polar vortex just really locked up in the Arctic, and this is going to start to kind of break down. You're also going to get this some high pressure to build in over areas into south of Greenland, so that actually helps slow down your systems, and that'll also help bring in some colder air. Your systems are going to slide further to the south, so potentially you could see a couple of snow events over areas over the Great Lakes, the Midwest, even into the interior Northeast, and we'll have to see about that. Of course, if you do see any snowstorms, I will cover it here on the channel. Now, here's your precipitation anomaly forecast, and we have three regions where you're going to be seeing at least slightly below average precipitation here, and this is where it's going to be drier than normal. We have our first region here for Northern California, western parts of Washington and Oregon, as well as another area there for northwestern Texas through much of Oklahoma, northwestern Arkansas, southwestern Missouri, and southern parts of Kansas there. And then we also have another region there for eastern Minnesota, eastern Iowa, through the northern half of Illinois, all of Wisconsin, all of Michigan, northern parts of Indiana, all of Ohio, through West Virginia, a little bit there of Virginia, through the Mid-Atlantic, and then all through the Northeast. You're going to be seeing some slightly below average conditions in terms of your precipitation, and this is where I'm expecting most of your systems to actually track further out to the west. So I'm thinking of more of a primary track to set up, kind of like this, where your systems develop out in the Rockies and then move further and further to the north and west, really leaving this area with not too much precipitation, as well as these areas to the south. And I also don't expect too much Pacific moisture to be available, so that's why I don't think much precipitation is going to be there for areas in the Pacific Northwest. Now, we also have we're going to see some above average conditions for the Southeast, and that's actually because I do expect a more southern track, as you do get more of that suppression of of the jet stream. Because of that higher pressures near Greenland, that's going to suppress that jet stream further to the south, so I think you are going to actually see some more storminess over those areas, and we'll talk about that in just one moment. Now, we also have a second layer of below average, and this is going to be for areas into northwesternmost California, western Oregon, and Washington, as well there for the eastern half of Wisconsin and all of Michigan, as well as the northernmost part of Maine there, seeing some moderately below average conditions. This is where it's going to be more noticeable, and I think the below average is going to be a little bit more deceptive because you will still see April is a very active month in terms of precipitation, so you will still see quite a bit of activity there over April, but it's just not going to be compared to your average. It's not going to be it's going to be below your average. So it still is going to be an active month. You're still going to see a lot of rain, but it's not going to be up to your average. Now here is where we're going to actually see some above average conditions, and this is going to be for areas into the southwest and through the Four Corners and Rockies. You are going to be seeing some slightly above average conditions in terms of precipitation, as well there for southern Texas through all of Louisiana, a little bit of Arkansas, all of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, and then most of Tennessee there, seeing some slightly above average precipitation. Again, I do expect a more southerly jet stream track, so that is going to help suppress those systems to the south, and you're actually going to get quite a bit of storminess over the areas into the southeast. Now, I do actually have a moderately above average condition region over areas into southeastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi and Alabama, through all of Florida and southernmost parts of Georgia. They're seeing some moderately above average conditions. Now, we are going to start to go into our overall forecast of the video, and this is going to be where we're going to actually be talking about more of a generalized forecast, and it's going to be kind of recapping what we talked about in this video and kind of showing you on average what your month is going to shape up like. Now, it is going to be milder out here for the western United States, all throughout the west, pretty much everywhere west of the Rockies. You're going to be seeing some milder conditions compared to what you've been seeing with those below average conditions, really primarily for the western United States. So it might be closer to average, a little bit above average in those regions, and that's why I'm going to just kind of simplify it as a little bit milder than your average. Now, we are going to be dealing with some mountain snow that's going to last through western Colorado, eastern Utah, western Wyoming, through western Montana, and then through northern Idaho. These regions can see snow all the way through May, June, and even you've seen a little bit through July and August there. And then, of course, winter and fall start again, and you start to see snow again. So you still can see snow over these regions. It's not unheard of, and it's actually quite likely that you see snowfall in those higher elevation regions. All those areas in that mountain snow region, those are all higher elevation regions, so definitely they have that elevation on their side to work with some snowfall there. Now, we are going to be seeing some snow becoming rarer over some of these areas, over through northern Nebraska, much of South Dakota and North Dakota, as well as northern Minnesota, as well as eastern parts of Montana and eastern Wyoming. You're going to see this storm track that's going to again move through areas through the Rockies, and then it's going to kind of start to move northeast through Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and we've already seen a couple of these already through March, and I think you're going to see even more of these continue as you continue through the month of April. Now, we are going to add your next area, and this is going to be your drier than normal condition area, and this is going to be for western Texas, western Oklahoma, through eastern New Mexico and southern parts of Colorado. I am expecting some drier than normal conditions. Now, it's going to be more slightly below average. It's not going to be very extreme drought conditions over these regions, but it is going to be drier than normal, so you will see a little bit less precipitation than you're used to, but on it should be close to average, so nothing too significant there. Now, we are going to be dealing with some average conditions, and this is going to be right through the heart of the country, through Kansas, Nebraska, Missouri, Iowa, South Dakota, and Colorado, seeing some average conditions. That means you're going to really be in between those warmer conditions to the south, colder conditions to the north. You're going to be in between the severe weather, so potentially a couple severe weather outbreaks through that region, and you're also going to be kind of battling between dry and wet conditions. So it's going to be really just all over the place this month for April over that central part of the United States. Now, we are going to be dealing with some severe weather over areas into North Texas, eastern Oklahoma, southern Missouri, through areas into the Tennessee Valley, and then through Arkansas. You are going to be seeing some severe weather there, and this is where I expect to see the most severe weather, but definitely a lot of these areas outside of the severe weather region are still going to be seeing some severe weather. I just think that this is going to be where most of your severe weather is actually going to set up this month. Now, we are going to be dealing with some stormy conditions through southern Texas, all of Louisiana for the most part, as well as Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and all of Florida. This is where I don't think it's going to be very severe. I think you're going to get a couple of thunderstorms, but I don't think you're going to get those severe weather outbreaks. I think you'll see a little bit more of that to the end of the month and then into May, and we'll talk about your May forecast as we get around the end of April, start of May. We'll put out our May forecast there and probably actually our summer forecast as well. Now, we are going to be dealing with a flip-flop condition region, and this is going to be for the Mid-Atlantic through the Tennessee Valley and then through the Ozarks there. Right in between, we're going to be seeing some wetter than normal conditions and then some colder air to the north. Flip-flop conditions going to be mixture between the warm and cold air, between the dry and the wet conditions. So it's definitely going to be all over the place, kind of like your average region there. Now, over areas into the Northeast, the Great Lakes, the Midwest. A lot of you guys have been telling me in the comment section you guys haven't been seeing a lot of cold air and snow over this winter, and definitely I think April's going to be your month. Probably not for snowfall, but at least for some chillier air, and it's not going to be anything crazy below average, but it is going to be a tad colder than normal on average, and you've been seeing kind of hints at this, and especially with this new pattern that's starting to set up, I do think spring is going to turn colder over everywhere pretty much in this purple region, and probably for much of the eastern and northeastern United States. Now, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications so you never miss a video when I do upload. Anyways, guys, that was Eli, the Little Guy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.